How's it going?
Awesome, awesome. This is great. Thank you so much for having me.
Of course, as a Tsinghua grad to the Oregon Ducks, from building Facebook's grad surge to scaling Uber China, leading growth at Alto, and now building solutions around real world assets. I'm excited to dive into a conversation on your professional journey, but also personal growth. Our commonality is the growth engine that was Uber as well. I'd like to understand why they've taken this path to now building out a solution for real world asset marketplace, the way that you've continued to keep an eye on what's next for Gen Z and millennials. But let's just start with, how did you get here and what growth means to you?
Thank you, Brian. Yes, along my career, I always focus on personal growth because the business growth normally come from the personal growth of everybody. This is what I learned from my senior leadership. And I actually got recommended to look at a book called The Startup of You, written by the LinkedIn co-founder. Basically consider yourself, your own career as a startup that you are growing, learning how to leverage your assets to help others to really build that value. So if you start from that perspective, you will grow the business as well.
Where did this come from? I understand going down the path of computer science to Tsinghua. Have you always been entrepreneurial? What skills did you focus on to at least even just starting getting to Tsinghua and going down the computer science route?
That's a great question. So actually, you're right. This comes back to childhood. Because similar to a lot of other folks in computer science area, I got inspired by Bill Gates
Mm,
because he was the one that really changed the world by building DOS, Windows. I got introduced to programming when I was 9 years old.
mm.
And I learned the story of Bill Gates, of course, of Apple. It's really a different new world. When I first time learned about a programming language, I thought it was a different language like English. But turned out you can actually tell the computers print out stars in different shapes, triangle, square. That's fascinating. And from there, I started learning more. And then the Microsoft whole story was so inspiring. And a few of my friends in middle school, we actually thought about, let's build another Microsoft.
Oh,
We
wow.
actually named it a Micro Hard for fun, for fun. But that was the spirit. We knew that we're going to build something big in the future, follow that pattern.
Then what skills were you picking up along the way? What role are you playing with building micro hard?
Yes. Naturally, we thought, okay, we need to be engineers. We need to build, be able to build, we have to know languages. So we start with basic C++. It was definitely the good journey that we got the textbooks, we read about ourselves, we train ourselves to be software engineer, even as 13, 14 years old. It was pretty fun. We built UIs very similar to Microsoft Windows 95. We really proud that we can do something that really let a computer to handle tasks for us. So that's the entry point, the programming skills.
And where are those friends now?
Actually, they are one of them right now is at Google. He ran his own startup for a couple of years and then joined Google. I think he will come out again at some point. Another friend is actually in Beijing right now. He's literally running his own startup, working on a marketplace that connect nannies to people who need nannies.
Wow.
Yes, yes. I guess that dream actually stayed with us all the time. So that here we are.
And then from Tsinghua, you went to Oregon, got your master's in computer science, but then we're also exploring your PhD. What motivated the master's? And then what made you leave the PhD to join Facebook in 2010, early Facebook?
Yes, it was 2010. Actually, my PhD topic was mainly focused on machine learning, or some people may call AI today, large data machine learning. And initially, I was thinking about going to Wall Street because my PhD topic was financial forecasting.
Okay.
I was thinking about, okay, there multi-kernel learning, SVM, new technologies. Can that be applied to financial forecasting like stock market or future market or oil market? If so, then we can build a lot of great models on top of that to help people. And actually, after 5 years, a lot of research, experiments, I published a paper in ICDM, in International Conference of Data Mining. My conclusion of the paper is actually financial market is a random walk. You cannot predict the direction of the market. It's actually more than that. If you try to predict the direction, you won't get better than 50-50 gas. But there's something that you can actually predict, which is the volatility of the market, because that goes to with the people's emotion. So no matter if the news is go up or down, a certain period, you can guess how high or how low it could change in a day or in a period. So there are ways that you can benefit from that, buying options or a combination of options, but consider the real world transaction fees and a bunch of other assumptions there. There's no way you can leverage algorithm to beat the market. That's my that's the reason actually I was like, okay, maybe my skills can be used somewhere else than financial forecasting. So I didn't join Wall Street. Instead, I look around, what's there, what's new. And my wife actually told me that, hey, there's something called Facebook. I was like, okay, what is that? I'm not a heavy social network user, but my wife, she's younger than me. She really liked Facebook. She's like, okay, you should go there. And I reached out my network. Turns out a few of my friends work there already. And they told me, you're right, absolutely right. Come over. I didn't really know that much about Facebook at the moment. I know it's a social network, but what I didn't know was when I joined, I realized, wow, they have 500 million users already. That was 2010. And my machine learning skills, instantly I was like, I need to learn that data. I need to start learning, mining, building models on top of that. And my first project at Facebook was building a model that predict how likely two people really know each other
Mm.
based on their history, their common friends, so that when one person search the other, we can, based on the ranking, based on those coefficients, move them higher so that you can find your friends easier. And that one got a huge win actually. We increased 12% of the connection rate of whole Facebook users. If you time that by 500 million user, that blew my mind how many impact I can have. I was like, wow, this is a way more cool. And also, I'm helping real people. Like my wife, before my model launched, she couldn't find her friends on Facebook.
Mhm.
And when I launched the model to everybody and she tried, she was like, okay, that's my friend. And she clicked on that, connect. I can see the smile on her face. That's the moment I feel like, oh my God, this is my dream.
You're getting so much feedback like all day because your wife is your target demographic. That's pretty genius.
That's very true. I won't claim I'm part of millennials. I'm a little bit like the tail of Gen X, but my wife is younger. She's definitely a typical millennials. In a lot of cases that she can tell me what young people are doing, what they need, what they want, what pain points they have. I have a lot of empathy there to help the younger generation because I wish when I was young, there were more people help me. I really appreciate people help me. I wish there were more. So when I grow to a certain point, a certain stage, I want to build towards the younger generation. I joined the third team, and the first big project that I work on was graph search. The idea was simple that Facebook has a lot of graph data that your friends, your photo, the places you visit, and people want to navigate through that. The most simple case is photos of my friends, right? That's from me to my friends and to their photos, or the music my friends like. So that there's a real use case there. There's some user who's organizing their wedding and they want to invite their friends and of course play the music they like. So the real use case behind that. And we were like, okay, we have the data, we have the capability, let's help users. And that journey began there. We start building the index behind it and a search engine because no one had built that before. We have to try different routes. It's literally a both research and engineering effort. We start from 3 engineers to, I believe, almost like 120 engineers 2 years later. But eventually we launched it and user loved it.
Wow, that's super impressive. Just to think about that networking with that scale of engineers and the relationships you're building and then where they go. What stood out to you about how to build a great foundation for an engineering organization?
That's a great question. I learned a lot during that journey from my senior leadership. Actually, they didn't try to build a big team at the beginning. They try to solve a problem. So I guess that's the same for building a team or building a company. You want people who's passionate about the problem you're solving. So every time we interview engineers or talk to internal engineers from other Facebook groups who have joined this effort, we pitch them the problem that we're solving. And we ask them, do you feel like you wanted to work on that? Do you have passion there? And once we have two more, four more, five more people who's really passionate about, let's find the model, let's find the best way to serve users for their problems. We gather a bunch of group people who's like having the same vision and they work together. So they're back and forth, sometimes up and lows, but they won't retreat. They will keep moving, keep going. And that's how you achieve the best. I'm very grateful that I was at Facebook and learned a lot, built my network. A lot of amazing people right now are in the industry. My PM, Fiji, back then at Facebook ads team, is actually running Instacart right now.
Wow.
She's the CEO. I feel like so proud there. There are many other people there. I'm really grateful there. But actually, I was asking myself the question that should I stay in my comfortable zone at Facebook or should I jump out to solve more problems? That hits me every time actually after the Facebook IPO, since like we got a milestone. One day I was standing next to Highway 101, which is the highway before actually Facebook in front of the Facebook HQ. And I saw a lot of people driving by themselves.
Mm,
I was like,
mm.
that's a waste. What if, because we know where we're going, we have a phone right now. What if we just connect each other, drive together? And my wife told me that that's interesting, but maybe someone already tries to do that. Then I Googled it and I find out, oh, there's a great group of genius called Uber already trying to solve that problem.
Mhm.
And I was like, okay, then I should join them. I should literally join them. So I reach out to Uber. As I'm interested. Can I join?
Tell me about that process though. Do you find an engineer on LinkedIn? Like, how do you connect with you make it sound so easy. I know there's a million people trying to find jobs right now. How do you just reach out to Uber and get a job?
It's definitely actually an interesting process. It's not that easy or right. Actually, there was someone, a recruiter, trying to help me to find my next journey. He asked me like, what are you looking for? I was like, I'm looking for opportunity at Uber. His response was that, oh, I don't really know anyone at Uber, but I know someone at Lyft. Similar concept. Do you want to interview there? I was like, sure, I can do that. I want to talk to those people who's passionate about this problem, but really get me connection to Uber. And he hesitated, I guess, for many reasons, maybe probably mainly because he didn't really know anybody at Uber.
Mhm.
Uh, but I challenged him that, hey, this is your profession, connecting people with job opportunities. I believe in you. Go try.
Yes, I love that.
So he tried and he came back and said, hey, you know what? I got someone. I find someone at Uber. Now I will introduce you.
Once you joined Uber, you started with business intelligence and then you moved to China growth. Is that your Wall Street background transitioning into business intelligence?
Yes, I really like the machine learning models that I work on. But more interestingly, I like to solve problems. So even today, people are very excited about like open AI. I believe there's a lot of more opportunities on applications that OpenAI or ChatGPT can do. So back then, I was like, how do I not just focus on the model itself, but leverage the model to help people, to help everybody solve their problems with machine learning, with the machines.
And then how does that, transition over to China growth?
That's actually probably more related to my background that I'm from China. I was born there. I came to US, but I always feel that's a market that we should help because there are so many people there. There are a billion people who need technology. They are doing really well on startups, but I believe the US companies also can do a lot to help them more. So that's how I got involved in this China Growth initiative. Now let's do it. Let's try it out in China, even though other people don't really want to try. Uber is brave enough.
And you guys went from what, a team of 3 to 90 in 2 years, and this is what is Uber, set 600 people at this time?
Yes, we start with a small group of people to prove the concept. We want to build some MVP there, try to see whether we can do it actually there. We were lucky that we got a great momentum at the beginning and more people see the opportunity, want to join. Of course, many of them are similar in the background that they are from China, but there are also people who's just passionate about the market also join us to build. And very fortunately, we gather like nearly 100 people share the same mission and over the 2 years, and we build tremendous business there.
I saw Travis say that he spent a fifth of his year in China. It was absolute priority for the company. How do you continue to keep a bar high while you guys are scaling at rate?
It was definitely a challenge, especially like when you grow in a very hyper growth rate, you have to get the people again back to the culture piece. You need to hire the people who's really passionate about the problem. Mm. Because people on the China Growth team normally work like two shifts. In the daytime, they have to work with HQ people. On the nighttime, they have to go work with the China local operation people remotely. So it's definitely a challenging job. But if you get the people who really passionate about the problem solving, passionate about space, they will overcome those issues. They will work like nonstop to really focus on what can we do, what impact do we have.
But to hire 87 people in 2 years, that's a lot of applicants and candidates to process. Like, how do you guys get so many people to want to go through your process? And the conversion rate had to be very high, but where did you get these candidates from?
That's a great question. Casey was definitely helpful, not just her, but she worked so hard to help us to go through that. We actually interviewed about 2,000 people and got nearly 90 of them. So the growth rate was also high because everybody on the team really want to help. So it was not just like a traditional or typical interview process. Actually, everyone on the team want to get more help because they see the problem, they see the state, and they see the candidates. They reach out, not just Casey. We all reach out to candidates by our own through our network. Try to teach people, hey, this is a really interesting problem. Come over. And when they got interested, of course, we connect them with Casey to really go through the process, but we follow up with them every single step. The whole engineering team actually got rallied together to work on that.
Yeah.
And when they actually pass the interview, they get offer, everybody just like jump on that. I believe that's Casey's idea to send love bombs. All of the email at the same day, gift card, everything. We just love you. Come over. A lot of people really got touched by that and they joined the journey. So that was probably the best part, the best learning we had.
How did you motivate your team?
It's definitely tied back to the culture that team should have. We would say that the value of a team is the impact you actually have. The engineers on a team should be able to see that. Normally, engineers would just focus on the programming, the machines, but we want to actually help them to see what impact they have. Let them talk to the users. That's the secret that we had. We actually, all our engineers travel to China to talk to real users, real drivers, real riders. And when the engineers come back from that, they got fired up. They were like, "Oh, there's literally problem there. I can help." There's a really a good story, favorite story that everybody loved. We had a engineer, a very senior tech leader, Gia, and he actually traveled to China with his laptop, of course, and he jumped on a Uber. And the Uber driver started talking to him. Hey, you're from Uber. That's great. I love Uber, but there's a bug in my driver app. So Gia pulled up his laptop in on the back of the car, started fixing the bug, and put to the server. So before the ride finished, he fixed the bug, and the
Wow.
driver was like, "Oh my god, you're like a god."
Yeah.
And then everybody after that called Gia the Gia god. But the engineers ultimately want to help when they see the people, the problem directly on the first hand. They are so passionate. They will come up more ideas than the leadership can do.
How do you vet that in somebody? How are you making sure that as you're building out this team at with this speed and scale that you're not only looking for somebody extremely technically sound, but like somebody that does truly is gonna work 2 shifts to solve this problem?
It's definitely not something you can get on the first day, but I think what you can focus on is to understand their background and why they're passionate about the problem. So sometimes it's maybe because of their personal experience, they really had a terrible experience with taxi, or they really want to help people. For example, when we were launching China, we launched city by city, and when we launched a new city, we actually talked to the candidates. Some of them are were from that city. They were like, "Oh my god, I know the city so well that I really want to help." Then you know that person will be fired up when he can see or she can see the impact there. And I got super proud when we launched my hometown, and I got that feeling. So I know other people feel the same.
And now you're getting your hometown to your users. You probably know them pretty intimately as well.
That's true. That's true. My family, my friends, they can give me feedback and they know I work at Uber. So it was true. The whole China team or the whole Uber team probably got that. Their friends, their family. Hey, there's an issue there. And then we quickly realized, oh, that's how it's not just one person. It's a common issue that fast have a faster feedback loop, fix issues for them.
These are growth hacks.
Exactly.
I know you're building engineering organization, but also a lot of your work has been thinking about growing and scaling businesses that are impacting millennials. Your journey has stayed consistent in terms of wanting to solve challenges applying machine learning and staying close to Gen Z. Tell me about your transition from China growth to Afterpay. It's another time that you're going against the grain. How do you make that leap?
Yes. That's definitely a transition moment for me because before that, Facebook or Uber, I would say I was trying to solve problems for older millennials because Uber is technically the young people were brave enough to step into a stranger's car first in San Francisco. And after that, I really find a pattern that I feel like, okay, if you build towards young people, you will learn a lot and they will teach you. And after Uber, actually, I don't think I'm young enough. I was young enough anymore. And even my wife, we became more, not, I won't say middle age, but we got our kid, our son. And so we stay a little bit far from the younger generation. And I was like, I need to really talk to them, really understand what younger people need. And that's how I start talking to Gen Zs. And at Uber, I feel like even at 2018, Uber went through up and downs, but I knew it's gonna be great. It will IPO with Dara, with the whole leadership there. So it's the same journey as I went through at Facebook. I saw how it looks like after IPO. It was a different world, not that early stage anymore. So it's like, I need to go somewhere else to go through that journey again, to have that thrill, to have that experience helping younger people. So I learned that very in a surprising way that younger millennials and Gen Z don't like credit. I got blown away. I was like, wait a second, why? Credit cards are good. I have credit cards and I got points. I got the gifts every quarter. I like it. But then I realized the younger people have a different challenge nowadays. They do find the problem that they don't want to get into a place that they keep paying interest. They want to control their budget because they have, I would say, less financial opportunity than their previous generations. It's like student loan debt and a lot of other burden on their shoulder. So their living styles, they want to control exactly how much they spend. So they don't like the credit card way and they don't believe in the social security, that score game that you get your score, you ramp up there. And they really remind me when I got my first credit card, it was a US bank student credit card. I got $200 limit. The bank uh, told me that, hey, you have to spend a little bit every month and pay back
Mhm.
on time to build up your score.
Right.
And when I bought my first car, their pitch was like, take a loan,
Yep.
pay that every month. So you build up your score model. And then when you buy a home, you get relatively lower interest rate. So that was the game. And I played the game nicely. But the younger people right now is like, no, we don't want to play that game. It's weird, right? You have to build your score by
Fair.
by taking a little bit loan here. So they're like, we want to use debit card. That's simple. But they also need a little bit flexibility on that. 78% of millennials and Gen Z don't use credit card. They may have one, but they use their debit card. And now they want a little bit of flexibility on top of that. And Afterpay, which is buy now, pay later, really help them there. I was like, okay, I have the feeling this is more like a Facebook all over again, Uber all over again, helping young people. I will jump on it.
And tell me about your experiences at Afterpay. What kind of challenges are you solving internally for them?
Yes, it's earlier stage. Then I joined Facebook or Uber.
People
Afterpay.
know Afterpay, sorry.
Oh, that actually, when I joined Afterpay in the US, literally we were the starting group. They were some people in Australia managing the Australia business, but in the US, we create the sub company Afterpay US, and we start with 5 to 10 people in the US as a founding group, and we grow from there.
What kind of challenges were you guys seeing, and what solution did you guys look at for those challenges?
Great question. Because that's very early stage. The first problem, actually the first mentality within that group is how do we survive? How do we prove that? This is something not just like the millennials and Gen Z in Australia want. How do we prove this is also US or global? And we have to really build our first connection with the US brand. And we actually pick anthropology because we actually work with Anthropology Australia in the Australian market and build some relationship there. So they got introduced us to the Anthropology West. So we start working with them, really start building the Afterpay brand and educate people, educate users. What's buy now, pay later? There's something that you can do with your debit card and there's no fee. There's no interest even you're late, you won't get accumulated interest over time like credit card. This is a
Mhm.
new type of business. We actually struggle the first couple months, but we start building more for the US market, especially for the US merchants. The US merchants are bigger. They're dealing with larger scale. They don't have similar like pattern as the Australia merchants there. It's a different market. So we have to build solutions for them. Luckily, we got their trust. We start getting the flywheel, more users, more merchants, more users, and we start from there.
And how do you grow an engineering team without the backing of a Uber or a Facebook, right?
That's a really awesome question. That's actually the main challenge we ran into at the very beginning. Because at Facebook, Uber, you can just, hey, it's Facebook, it's Uber. People normally heard about that before, but at Afterpay, like they were like, what? After what? They don't really get it. They have to really explain what it is. We actually find out if we target solid engineers that we don't know who's on the market, we won't be able to get into the interview process. So we start thinking about, okay, we have to tap into our network
Mhm.
that people don't trust Afterpay as a brand, they trust us. So we reach out to our network, folks at Uber, folks at Facebook, and other folks who join early. They have connection in like Twitter or other areas. Then we find a bunch of people who we actually worked before as a founding group and start from there.
Tell me about what motivated this decision to jump back into earlier stage. I think we're seeing a recurring theme. And what made you excited about the space that Alto is in?
Yes, thank you for asking that question because this is the same pattern exactly that we Afterpay, especially after got acquired by Square and become a big company again. So I was like, what's the new problem for millennials, Gen Zs? And I really have empathy for them that they don't really have the equal financial opportunity. So maybe that's why we see they're doing some irrational things like crypto or the GameStop. If you
Mm,
remember that, they were just like the rally buying GameStop to pour that because they have some anger in their mind because they desire more equal and fair opportunities. So I want to help them. That's why I believe in crypto and the Web3. Even though there are a lot of weird things going on there, I think the technology itself is a great one. It will help everybody eventually, like dot-com technology. Initially, there was a bubble, right? There were some weird behaviors, but later, every company is a dot-com company. So I was thinking about, I was exploring Web3 space, but connect real world with crypto. And I had an idea at that moment. How do we, or maybe let's say we back crypto NFTs with real world assets like house, then they become real. I would say much more meaningful than a picture. So that's why I connect with you and think about Web3. But unfortunately, I guess I didn't really find similar minds at the moment. At the moment, most people are still thinking about the, I was like, okay, I need to learn a little bit more of real estate to really connect the real world with NFT. So that's why I got connected with Auto, and which is a proper tech company that try to disrupt real estate. So I joined there and then learn how to understand the market to prepare myself to really build that Web3 real estate company. But yeah, I joined as VP engineer at Auto. I really helped to build the engineering team there. It's an earlier stage. We pivoted the business a couple of times. And actually, I was fortunate. I'm very grateful. I switched my role to VP growth at Auto, really like managing engineers, marketing, and also responsible for product decisions. I learned a lot there. And I also like work with the operation people, the real estate uh, experts, and fortunately got my own license. So now I can actually literally buy and sell. And I believe that really prepare me to really start my own right now. If I need to buy a home, need to through a business, I can literally do that right now.
wow. Are you comfortable talking about where you guys are at?
Yes, definitely. So the idea is simple, right? How do we connect the Web3 world with the real world? So I would use the analogy of dot-com again. So the dot-com bubble started with people believing in technology and they value the companies by click or view rate. How many people click on your website? How many people view your website? And a lot of company actually got raised money and IPO'd just purely on that, but they don't really have revenue. There's no real business behind it. And today, it's not exactly the same. A lot of Web3 companies have real revenue because crypto is naturally tied to finance or just like money movement. But collectively, if we look at the whole crypto world, it depends on how many new money get invested into it. It doesn't really generate something back yet, collectively as a whole. So if we connect the real world business to it, for example, the simple idea could be just a house behind an NFT, and the house generates rent. There's a real business of renting that out in that area. Then NFT becomes just a proof of that your ownership or your state of a business, which you can actually generate revenue, generate values to everybody. I would say that this is a downturn right now, probably generically, but more particularly for the crypto world, for Web3 community. A lot of people who don't really believe in the technology, who just want to come over and play a certain game, they are out. They're not staying with the community right now. Everybody stayed, or most people, I would say, stayed within the community, really try to build. And this is the best time, I would say, to build for the next wave, especially that people now are more sane than last year. No one is spending $20 million buying a picture of Bored Apes. So they're looking at real returns. They're more realistic. So if we can start building for them, I believe within the next 5 to 10 years, we can achieve something great.
I love that. Can only imagine the impact you've had on engineers and teams throughout your career, but also the people in your life. What would you look back and tell yourself at 21 as you're going through this journey? And what skills do you think really helped you get to where you're at today?
That's a fantastic question, actually. I really wish someone could tell me back then when I started my career. I learned a lot of lessons in hard have the opportunity to share with the younger generation entrepreneurs or new grads. I would say there are three things I recommend everybody to focus on. One, of course, be hungry. You need to solve the real problem. It's not just being hungry. Oh, I'm going to be the big guy. I want to be successful. It's not that. Focus on the problems that you can solve. Focus on the people that you can help and focus on the value, the impact you can have for the world, for the rest of the people. Help them. Be hungry about that. That's how you find the right problem to solve. That's how you find the right group to join at the right timing. And the second, I would say, more important, be humble.
Yeah.
This is necessary. I have seen a lot of smart people, great people. They got success, they got fame, they got money, and they start forget about that. It's not completely disaster for them sometimes. They're okay. But I would argue that they lost the opportunity to achieve the best they can. So I would say no matter how fast you can go, no matter how good you can achieve, be humble. Remember that you want to solve problems for others. You want to help them. So that's how you be really get touch with the earth. And the last piece I would recommend is to be smart with people. What I mean is not just being a genius, but I'm more referring to find a good relationship because ultimately everyone's life depend on the relationship you build. Build a relationship with hungry and humble people so that you can stay hungry and humble. And if you realize someone is not in that category, you don't have to correct them. That's not on you. You just spend less time with them.
Are there any people in your circle that come top of mind as that you keep close to you that you'd like to talk about?
Of course, number one on my list, Brian. You're smart, you're humble, you're hungry all the time. You start your own journey. Is that true? I'm not just trying to, but
Thank you. I appreciate
you're,
that.
you start your own firm trying to help people. And you're still very humble. Your career background, you work at Uber, Sequoia. You are a great entrepreneur there already, and you are still humble today. That's amazing. I really love that. And you reach out to me, help me all the time. So you have all of them. I really love you.
I appreciate it. Thank you, Han. I love that. Just summarizing the conversation, I think starting with growth and really just continuing to make sure that you have hungry, humble relationships that you keep around you. And that's a big driver into why I started really focusing on building those great relationships has really helped us build an amazing network. And many of our clients have come from referrals and friends that I've worked with in the past. Thank you a ton for taking the time to talk through your journey. I'm really excited to be able to share this conversation.
I want to share with you is that actually I'm also thinking about 10 years later. Is there anything that more we can build? Let's say you maybe Web3 real world assets is the next big wave, but what's next after that?
Mm,
So I'm looking by my son, who's 5 years old. He's a typical generation alpha, who's a younger cohort. I want to build maybe later. There are a lot of interesting trend there. One thing I noticed is Gen Z really like music. That's why TikTok is really hot. They like music, they like dance, and Gen Alpha. Maybe I'm still off, but I see a trend. Gen Alpha is not that into music or dancing. They're very, very interested in stories, narrative. So maybe there'll be something after TikTok really can capture that generation. Maybe that's a story 10 years from now.
No, I love that. I also just think about how podcasting is growing, and I think a lot of families are listening to stories. I'm a big Audible user, and so I absolutely understand that. So I love that. You're obviously always forward thinking, but I think to be able to now build for the future of your child, like that's a pretty impactful way to be able to tip your hat and focus your abilities. So I love that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Cool. I think I've asked you a billion questions. This has gone on longer than I spaced this for, but thank you so much. I'm so appreciative. Those extremely kind words. Thank you for painting your journey. I think that I've been so blessed in my career to be able to hear these conversations and for people like you to take your time to explain why you've made these decisions. And it's been so inspiring to me. My thought is I wish I could share these. So thank you for letting me share this.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me. It's a really great conversation. Yeah, we'll keep jamming. We'll keep jamming more for sure.